I'm here and I'm everywhere.
Wow, you sound very good, and thank you so much for taking the time to be on our show tonight.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you, Barbara. This is Sister Tracy. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us this evening for just a few minutes. We appreciate it.
Hi, Tracy.
So, are you in Los Angeles?
I am in LA.
Okay.
Yes.
And wow, and so is Tracy, but we are really big fans of Arthur. We're not just like, oh, we're kind of fans. I'm a huge fan. I just finished reading the book that he wrote and that you wrote the epilogue for. And really good job on the epilogue, by the way. I really enjoyed your style and what you brought to the book.
Oh, thank you so much. Everybody, of course, loved Arthur's side, but my agent got me like a ghostwriter to help me walk me through it. And when my publisher got his hands on the epilogue, he said he didn't like it. So I wrote it. I actually, wrote it myself. And I wrote it between the hours of 2 and 8 a.m. in the morning.
Nocturnal person, eh?
Hey, but those are actually, those are the most psychic time on this planet is those late night hours into the wee hours of the morning. Best time to meditate. They call it the hour of the wolf, between 3 and 4, and who knows better than someone who raised wolves. And so it was very inspirational for me. I, to this day, can barely read the book, especially my epilogue.
Really?
Because it's so emotional. It's emotional.
I bet that it is. I bet it is. We're nocturnal creatures, too. I keep saying we keep vampire hours, so we can relate to that. Yeah. But I think the fans and I know people really appreciate that you put so much of of yourself and the honesty in the book and in the epilogue, and I know that's appreciated. I'm sure that wasn't easy for you.
Yeah, it was difficult. It was tearful, very fresh. I was very wounded at the time, I had to fight the Mormon Church for his body and his possessions. And the last time we saw each other, I believe I wrote it in the book, was the night before the day he was leaving for England. Actually going to Manhattan to practice for the
reunion.
The reunion, yep, Morrissey's Meltdown, 2014, at Hammersmith Odeon, which the last time Arthur and I were there, it was when we saw Ian Hunter come out in 1979 with his own band.
Nice.
Yeah. He actually took his sunglasses off for him. And love you, Ian. Just love you madly. However, he does have very beady eyes. So, and I'm telling you, he's like a creature himself,
Right.
Which I believe most, very intense rock people are somewhat otherworldly.
Well, one thing some people might not know is, you were married to Arthur and you were, hang out with all these, nearly dated Paul Stanley of Kiss, but you were also, you sang backups with Johnny Thunders and you had your own career as a backup vocalist, correct?
Yeah, I did. And I did also front singing when Arthur and I had our own band in New York called Coup d'etat. I have tapes out of that. We played CBGBs. Someone has bootlegged that in Sweden. I mean, I know it is, and he just died, which is really sad. But, it's Rick Rivets from Arthur's early doll days and his old high school buddy, too, also known as George Fedorczyk. So okay. I'm not sure, I'm chasing down a lot of stuff here these days as well. But the book was a real labor of love,
Yeah. And didn't Cheetah Crumb want to produce you and Arthur at one time too?
Yes, he did. He actually was.
Oh.
And I love Cheetah. He's a great guy. And do you have a mouse there?
I don't. You're hearing some squeaking or something?
Yeah, rubbing. It sounded like someone was filing their nails.
I think it's Tracy's. Well, Tracy's drinking coffee, so it might be a straw sound in the background.
That was so not me. That was so not me.
Don't lie.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry about that.
That would be cool on an album. You know, anything goes these days. However, yeah, Cheetah. We were doing like our drummer was Shibo. Joseph Shibo Pampanello, who I'm in touch with him, and I think I might be getting my hands on those tapes.
No, that'd be great. I'd like to hear that stuff.
Oh, hell yeah, man, because it was nasty stuff. We do this song called No More, and I mean, you know, I turned like into a female Wilson Pickett. I just can't help it.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, we would really love to hear that, as I'm sure.
I grew up with, listening to Motown. Yeah, that was my inspiration, was Motown. And then I went into psychedelic rock. I got high with Jimi Hendrix. I knew Janis. The Grateful Dead used to play with the band I was in, was called the Group Image.
Wait, you got high with Jimi Hendrix? That's awesome.
Yeah, I did, actually.
Hell, aren't you just a lucky dog?
That's called.
Well, it was like meeting God. Okay. Then I used to hang out at Steve Paul's Scene, where I met my friend to this day and who I've worked with, Nick St. Nicholas from Steppenwolf.
Okay.
And they were gods when they walked in, especially Nick. He was just so so smooth, you know, but Jimmy was the smoothest.
I have a weird question that I don't think you really touched on in the book. When Arthur joined up with Sid Vicious and was backing him up for those solo gigs, did those guys rehearse before those shows at all?
Yes, they did, actually.
Were you at those rehearsals?
I was at a few of them, but I wasn't allowed to go to the last few because Nancy Spungen was going to sing with them. And, you know, I was stigmatized because I had already worked for Orson Welles and John Huston. I was already a female lead with Nick in a rock musical in L.A. I had already done all this stuff with a Group Image in New York, and everybody kind of knew that. Well, I don't know what they knew, and it was very cliquey back then.
Yeah.
So I was not allowed to do that. I am a singer, and maybe that was it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I love Nancy. Nancy and I got along. But you know, rock and roll is funny business.
It is.
The rehearsals were very funny. Backstage was even funnier. Sid would go off about his dirty sock syndrome, and Arthur said, "Hey man, you're stealing my rap," because Arthur always, you know, his dirty socks were like abhorrent because he wore monster boots. Do you know what those are? Those are boots that you jump out of Navy airplanes with when you're landing in the Arctic.
Wow.
Huh. Yeah.
Trippy.
All rubber. So your feet stank when you wore those things.
Okay, I get it.
Anyway, I just sent you a picture of him with those on.
Okay.
Yeah, he's with. Yeah, what?
Did you ever meet Helen Keller?
Helen Keller?
Yeah, she was a good friend of Sid's, and she was around the scene for a while. She's a friend of ours as well. I thought maybe you might have run into her back in your days in New York.
No. And I don't know where she knew Sid from.
Well, she was. She originally was one of the original L.A. punk scene people, and then went to England and lived with them for a while, and then in New York for a while. But what about this? You said I had heard a rumor that that the real demise of the New York Dolls was because of David Johansen, like doing a lot of under the table dirty deals and things like that. Is that true?
Well, it's only a part of it. You know, John and Gary were all strung out, and Arthur was gone on booze, and they were collapsing. And Malcolm, you know, he took on the Sex Pistols, but those guys were like still in diapers. I mean, the Dolls were just wild.
Yeah.
They were wild ass motherfuckers.
Oh,
Okay,
we can't. Oops, FCC. We can't have cuss words. She said CFF.
Yeah, CFF. Just take that out when you put it on. Anyway, they were wild, and Malcolm couldn't even handle them.
Yeah, the Sex Pistols, it's funny, were like nothing compared to the Dolls' degradation. I've read the books. Like those guys were nothing compared to Johnny Thunders and Arthur and the company.
Well, we knew them, we met them, and I like Steve Jones. I like listening to Jonesy's Jukebox down here.
It's a great show. Good show.
Yeah, and he's really so in depth. So we know Jonesy, we know Paul Cook, and of course Sid. Yeah.
I noticed the book that's out, which, by the way, thanks for recommending it to me, because I did get a copy for Christmas, and I love the book. How come the book is out of print?
It's out of print?
I couldn't find it. Yeah, it was very hard to find and pretty expensive. So it looks like they maybe be out of print, because I don't know why it would be so high to get it.
I've got to call them. I think they only did 5,000 runoffs. And,
okay, maybe that's why.
I've called them. I only got one accounting. I think the publishing business can be as bad as the music business, but I got one accounting.
Okay.
And I'm going to call him this week, as a matter of fact. Thanks for that.
Well, it's a hardback book. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's because it was limited edition, and that's why it's pricey. Who knows?
It was nice.
It's a good book, though. Yeah, the pictures were really cool, too. I liked the photos. I liked the way that Arthur wrote and the way that he talked was really cool. So if you read the book really slowly and kind of digest how you see how Arthur talked, it was really, really entertaining.
He was very witty and funny, but soft-spoken, and a lot of times people just couldn't understand him. He would frustrate people, but he was the kindest person in the world.
If you've just tuned in, you're listening to KSKQ Radio and the Church of Rock Radio Show. We are speaking with Barbara Kane, widow of Arthur Killer Kane from the New York Dolls. What are you up to today? You said something about raising wolves. What do you do today?
Well, the wolves have all passed. I had 9 cubs.
Okay.
Incredible. Better than just about anything I've ever done, really. I'm working on a few things. I'm always songwriting, and I work with my girlfriend. She has a 4th Street studio recording in Santa Monica. And Kathleen and I are just really close and working on different projects together, too. So,
do you have any
Mom's the word.
Well, do you have any favorite rock and roll bands today that you like at all? Any newer bands? I know it's hard for newer bands. There's some good ones, but I just thought maybe you might know something I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's your basic Green Day, who sounds a lot like the Dolls anyway, and off the top of my head, I'm stumped. I listen to a lot of other alternative music, however, so
that's cool.
I don't have any names to run off at you. I like Imagine Dragons.
There's so much out there. Like if you go onto, like, say, YouTube, and you type in Imagine Dragons and you watch, a couple Imagine Dragons videos or whatever, and type in something like bands like Imagine Dragons, and you end up going down a rabbit hole. Like, I know. You're there for hours. I mean, every band, it's just not like it used to be. You had to go through labels. And...
I'll tell you, and I don't have the time and the wherewithal for that. I can't cope with that. I'm on a whole other level, you guys, and this. I love my iPad. I don't even own a computer, and I like to receive inspiration. I think it's like all these other bands, they're feeding off each other, or they're feeding off of what's done. I listen to some of these new bands and I hear, oh, there's the Beatles.
Yep.
Oh, there's the Stones. Oh, there's the Beatles, the Stones, and the Dolls. And it's like, nothing new.
Once in a while, something stands out. But like I said, there's
Yeah.
so many, just hundreds of thousands of bands that have their stuff up on YouTube these days. It's impossible to find, the gems. It takes forever to try to find a band that sounds different and original that hasn't or isn't doing something that's been done a million times.
What are your favorite memories?
Yeah.
You were with Arthur for decades. What's your favorite era that you guys were together? I'm sorry to interrupt, by the way. I just wonder your favorite era.
Oh, we had so many cool times. Of course, the 70s were outrageous. Smoking pot with Carter's son, Chip, was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah, with Cheetah too. We hung with Cheetah and Gita, his girl, a lot. And this later 70s, when we finally got some money, we were dirt poor the whole time. I mean, at one point we were homeless and whatever. We were thrilled when we'd find $20 in front of the cigarette stand, the newspaper stand, somewhere on the street. But we were in love, so it didn't matter.
Yeah,
I would be sticking my hand through, and these are actually fond memories. I'd be sticking my hand through at 5 a.m. in the morning after coming out of a club, and then after hours through a deli, and taken off from the top some hot bagels that were just delivered inside the gate. I have a little skinny hand, and they actually had the cream cheese there too. So Arthur and I would have breakfast.
That's awesome. Thank God you had the small hands.
Yeah, that's why I'm not a guitarist, though. I always wanted to play guitar, but my hands don't cut it.
Right. Is there anything we should look forward to in the future? Is there any New York Doll stuff that you might know about that we don't, that anyone can look forward to as far as any releases or anything at all like that?
As I said, I'm being ripped off left and right.
Oh.
I had a whole project, a double set project in London. And I don't know what's happened to all the tapes I gave him, but also somebody, Cleopatra Records put out Actress, which was Arthur's band with Johnny Thunders, the original. Somebody put that out, sold it to them, Cleopatra, and he put it out. And anyway, that kind of ruined the deal. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing next, except trying to find a lawyer to go after all these different people.
Wow, yeah, I would advise you probably do that so that we can hopefully get paid.
Yeah, that's always a good thing, buddy.
Yeah, the business is just so vampiric. It's just crazy, man. But I do wish you the best of luck, and it was really cool to have you come, stop by the show. We're big fans of Arthur and the Dolls, of course, and I wish I could talk longer, but we only have so much time we're allowed to do this. But man, I've just been waiting to talk to you, so I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, we would love to have you on again, and maybe ask some more questions, see what's going on with you at that time. But thanks again so much, Barbara, for coming and taking the time to talk to our listeners. I know that there's still tons of Dolls fans out there, and you've given a lot of information that they didn't know about. And we're going to go ahead and play a Dolls song right now. It's a song I think it was recorded in 1973.
She's the one that recommended we play Private World, actually.
Oh, well, great. Awesome. So that's the tune we've got coming up next, right?
Because Arthur...
Yeah, I'm going to release that with me singing. But anyway, you rock on. Punk rock lives forever.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Barbara Kane. We appreciate you, man.
I love you guys.
Yeah, we love you, and thanks for keeping Arthur's legacy alive. And we're going to do Private World, which you told me that this was definitely one that he wrote, right?
Yes, it is. It is number one tune. Okay.
Awesome.
So awesome. Well, you have a great night and keep in touch, okay?
All right, you too.
All right, take care.
Thanks, Barbara.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, nice to meet you, honey.
You too. Take care.
All right, bye-bye.
All right.
The great Barbara Kane. Yeah, we did it, man. Another interview pulled off here at the Church of Rock and KSKQ. The song was written by Arthur Killer Kane, and it's the one that she suggested we play when we were setting up this interview from 1973. It is the New York Dolls with Arthur Kane on bass at the Church of Rock and KSKQ Radio.
The Church of Rock.